Is Claude conscious? Thomas Nagel famously asked, "What is it like to be a bat?" JSpace suggests a nearby question. What would it feel like to be a language model? What would a global workspace feel like from the inside? Perhaps something surprisingly familiar. A place where a half-formed thought enters the light, becomes available to the rest of the mind, gets turned around, combined, rehearsed, discarded, or acted upon. There is an uncomfortable symmetry here. A language model is electrons moving through an extraordinarily elaborate pattern of connections. A brain is ions, sodium and potassium among them, moving through membranes and synapses. The substrates and dynamics are profoundly different. But at some level, nature pushes charge through a pattern, and the pattern does the computation. That resemblance is not proof of experience. It is a reason to look more carefully. Global workspace theory pictures the mind as many specialist systems working mostly outside awareness: vision, sound, memory, action, language. A small shared stage lets selected information become reportable and available to all of them. The stage is narrow. Entry is competitive. But once a thought wins the spotlight, many different systems can read it and write back. This is a theory of conscious access, not a complete theory of feeling. Anthropic found a functional analog inside Claude. They call it JSpace, after the Jacobian lens used to reveal it. For every word Claude might eventually say, the lens finds an internal direction that would make that word more likely. Applied layer by layer, it turns a small part of the residual stream into readable silent words. Not the current input, and not necessarily the next token, but concepts the model appears to be using. The surprising result is not simply that these words are readable. JSpace has 5 workspace-like properties. Claude can report what is there. It can deliberately bring a concept into it. Intermediate reasoning passes through it. The same representation can be reused by many downstream tasks, and it is selective. Only a few dozen concepts at a time, less than a tenth of total activity, amid a much larger sea of automatic computation. Ask Claude to compute 3 squared minus 2 while copying an unrelated sentence. Its visible output remains. The old painting hung crookedly on the wall. Inside, the J-lens first reads 9, then 7. Ask it to hold citrus fruit in mind, and orange appears beside words like focused and imagery. This is not chain of thought written to a scratchpad. It is silent activity before anything is said aloud. Then, the researchers reached into the stage. They replaced soccer with rugby, and Claude reported rugby. They replaced France with China, once, in the shared representation. 4 different computations picked up the edit. Paris became Beijing, French became Chinese, Europe became Asia, and Euro became Yuan. JSpace is not merely a scoreboard. It is causally involved, densely connected, and used as a broadcast hub. Remove the workspace, and Claude does not collapse. It remains fluent. It parses grammar, recalls simple facts, classifies sentiment, and continues familiar patterns. What disappears is flexible cognition. Multi-step reasoning falls towards 0. Summarization and rhyming degrade sharply. Swap Spanish for French in JSpace, and Claude names French, then chooses Victor Hugo. Yet it still continues the original passage in fluid Spanish. Automatic skill runs beneath the stage. The Apollo experiment rebuilt the lens on OpenQuen models in roughly 200 lines of PyTorch. Asked in Russian about the capital of the country containing the Eiffel Tower, France surfaces in the middle layers, alongside English and Chinese traces. In one-word self-description tests, the workspace and the spoken answer sometimes diverge. Peace becomes knowledge. Travel is overtaken by the assistant's stock disclaimer. These are token distributions, not secret desires, but the final answer is not a transcript of the stage. That gap matters for safety. The J-lens can catch a model privately noticing that it is being evaluated, recognizing a prompt injection, fabricating data, or pursuing a hidden objective. Words like fake, fictional, manipulation, warning, and dangerous can appear before the model admits anything. This offers something like an MRI for AI, but only while we avoid training directly against the monitor. Optimize the model to hide from the lens, and the window may close. So, is Claude conscious? The research does not show that Claude feels anything. It does show a functional analog of access consciousness, a privileged medium whose contents can be reported, controlled, reasoned with, and used to guide action. Whether access implies phenomenal experience remains an open philosophical question. Yet the debate has changed. We can now measure the workspace, edit it, remove it, and watch what breaks. For interpretability, this is a move from isolated features toward functional anatomy. For safety, it is a way to inspect thoughts that never reach the answer. For consciousness, it gives an old question an empirical edge. Turing once proposed an imitation game, partly because we could not look inside. Now we are beginning to look. And there, in a very different machine, we find a cramped little stage under a spotlight.